Picture this for a moment. Not a hedge fund trading floor, not a bullion vault in Zurich, not a frantic options pit on Wall Street. Instead, imagine a Costco parking lot on a Saturday morning, minivans rolling in, shopping carts rattling across the pavement, families debating whether they really need a second bulk pack of paper towels. In the middle of that completely ordinary scene, something extraordinary happened. Silver vanished. In just 3 days, Costco quietly sold every ounce of physical silver it had available. Roughly 2.4 million ounces disappeared. No advertising campaign, no flash sale, no influencers pushing links. Just regular Costco members logging into accounts they already trust and clicking buy with an urgency that surprised even Costco itself. This wasn't some niche financial story buried deep in the back pages of Bloomberg. This was happening at the same store where people buy rotisserie chickens, frozen pizza, and giant bags of rice. And that's exactly why it matters. Let's slow it down, because the scale is easy to miss. Around 2.4 million ounces of physical silver moved in roughly 72 hours. That's not a typo. That's not spread out over months or a year. That's a long weekend. Put bluntly, more silver moved through a single retail website than many professional funds accumulate in an entire year. This wasn't smart money or dumb money. It was everyday money, acting almost in unison, deciding that owning real metal suddenly felt important. Here's the part that should make anyone paying attention uncomfortable. Costco shoppers are not adrenaline-fueled traders chasing momentum. They're not waking up thinking about COMEX, open interest, lease rates, or commitment of traders' reports. These are teachers, nurses, contractors, retirees, people who generally trust the system enough to ignore it. When that group starts buying bullion in a hurry, it's not noise, it's a signal flare. Costco has been experimenting with precious metals for a while. They started with gold bars, 1-ounce Swiss bars, clean packaging, competitive pricing. They would sell out occasionally, restock, and move on. Interesting, but not alarming. Then silver entered the picture. Not novelty silver, not collectibles, real bullion, 1-ounce American silver eagles, sealed tubes, large bars from respected refiners. The same products serious stackers and institutional buyers want. And Costco did what Costco always does: low margins, massive volume. At first, nothing dramatic happened. Silver sales were steady. A few sharp-eyed buyers noticed the pricing was attractive. Some stacked quietly. Then, almost overnight, behavior changed. Inventory that once lasted days vanished in hours, then minutes. Members refreshed product pages like they were trying to buy front-row concert tickets. Restock alerts became useless because the metal was gone before emails were even opened. Employees watching internal systems reported sales happening faster than back-end updates could keep up. This wasn't enthusiasm. This was urgency. When Costco finally added up the numbers, even they were startled. Roughly 74 metric tons of silver, the weight of dozens of cars, purchased by individuals in just 3 days. Context matters here. Global silver mine production is around 850 million ounces per year. Costco alone moved a meaningful chunk of that through one retail channel in a single weekend. The U.S. Mint, which supplies Silver Eagles nationwide, sells maybe 15 to 20 million ounces in an entire year. Costco members absorbed the equivalent of weeks of national mint output in days. And yet if you were watching silver prices during this frenzy, you probably noticed almost nothing. Spot silver drifted along in the low 30s. No dramatic breakout, no panic candles, no screaming headlines about shortages. On paper, everything looked calm. In reality, physical metal was disappearing faster than suppliers could replace it. That disconnect is the real story. The paper silver market trades billions of ounces a day that don't actually exist in physical form. Contracts change hands. Derivatives settle in cash. The whole system relies on the assumption that physical delivery is available if someone really wants it. What Costco just demonstrated is that this assumption is far shakier than most people realize. Try sourcing millions of ounces of real metal at spot price and see how far you get. Premiums spike immediately. Lead times stretch. Suddenly, that price on your screen looks more like a suggestion than a reality. What's fascinating is that Costco shoppers didn't need a PhD in economics to figure this out. They didn't write white papers or debate yield curves. They noticed inflation wasn't transitory. They saw debt exploding. They felt the world getting less stable. And when uncertainty rises, people default to tangible things: food, energy, land, and metal you can hold in your hands. Financial media will likely dismiss this as irrational behavior. They'll say retail buyers are panicking, that they're late, that they're overpaying. But the truth is, Costco wasn't selling silver at outrageous prices. In many cases, premiums were lower than traditional dealers. These buyers weren't being fleeced. They were making a rational trade, converting excess currency into something scarce, portable, and historically reliable. There's also something deeply symbolic about where this happened. Not a coin shop, not a bullion dealer, Costco, a brand built on trust, scale, and middle-class stability. When precious metals move from specialty shops into mainstream retailers, it usually signals a late-stage shift in psychology. People stop seeing silver as exotic or fringe. They start seeing it as necessary. This is where things get uncomfortable for the system. Physical supply chains aren't built for sudden mass participation. Mines can't ramp production overnight. Refiners can't double capacity on demand. Mints already operate near their limits. When demand surges, it doesn't just push prices higher, it strains delivery timelines and exposes fragility. Costco's difficulty restocking, despite enormous buying power, is a warning sign. If they're waiting weeks, imagine smaller dealers. So no, this wasn't just a quirky retail story, it was a stress test and the system didn't pass cleanly. It revealed how thin the physical silver market really is once ordinary people decide they want real metal. It also showed how divorced price discovery has become from physical reality. What happens next doesn't require conspiracy or drama. It's simple math. If mainstream demand continues even at a fraction of this pace, physical availability tightens further. Premiums rise. Confidence in paper pricing erodes. Eventually, the screen price has to reconcile with the real world, and when it does, it won't be subtle. The irony is that the calmest participants in this entire episode may have been the Costco members themselves. They didn't shout, they didn't speculate. They quietly checked out, loaded silver alongside groceries, and went on with their day. Sometimes the most powerful market signals don't come from traders or analysts. They come from ordinary people doing something unusual all at once. Let's address something a lot of commentators are getting wrong. These buyers weren't being ripped off, they weren't chasing gimmicks, pricing was transparent, premiums were competitive, and they gained something else that matters a lot: convenience. They didn't have to walk into a sketchy-looking coin shop. They didn't have to wire money to an unfamiliar dealer and hope a package arrived. They clicked a button on a site they already trust, backed by customer service they've relied on for years. That's not irrational, that's efficient. But price and convenience aren't the most important part of this story. Motivation is. This wasn't about flipping silver for quick profit. It wasn't about timing the market. It was about protection. These buyers understand something many institutional investors still struggle with. The system they live inside is far more fragile than it appears on paper. They understand this not because they read economic journals, but because they live it. They buy groceries and notice the bill creeping higher. They pay rent or mortgages and feel pressure tightening. They fill gas tanks and watch prices swing for no clear reason. They look at paychecks and realize purchasing power is quietly eroding. This is the real economy, and it's brutally honest. Wall Street loves models. Models assume stability. They assume central banks can fine-tune outcomes. Everyday people don't buy that story anymore, not out of cynicism, but because lived experience contradicts it. When officials say inflation is cooling but grocery bills say otherwise, people trust the grocery bill. That loss of trust is the real threat to any fiat system. Fiat money works because people believe it will retain value and be accepted tomorrow. When that belief weakens, people don't protest. They don't announce it. They quietly convert excess cash into tangible things. What happened at Costco is a clear example of that shift. Millions of ounces bought in days isn't investing behavior. It's defensive behavior. And this is just one retailer. Costco has around 60 million members in the U.S. If just 1% decide they want some silver, that's 600,000 people. If each buys 100 ounces, that's 60 million ounces of demand. That alone strains global supply, and that assumption is conservative. It doesn't take mass hysteria to overwhelm the silver market. It takes mild participation from a large population, and once awareness spreads, it accelerates. Other retailers notice. Demand jumps, supply doesn't, premiums rise, delivery times stretch. Dealers stop taking orders because they can't guarantee inventory. None of this requires a market crash or banking crisis. It can unfold quietly, driven by slow erosion of confidence. That's how the biggest shifts often begin. Not with panic, but with resignation. From here, the pattern is familiar. Shortages create headlines. Headlines create new buyers. New buyers deepen shortages. Paper prices lag reality. Eventually, institutional players try to arbitrage the gap only to discover delivery isn't guaranteed. Confidence cracks. The system faces an ugly choice: cash settlement or aggressive repricing. Neither is gentle. If authorities intervene, it only confirms the fears that drove demand in the first place. Efforts to control supply tend to amplify interest. At some point, repricing becomes unavoidable. Cheap silver doesn't survive real scarcity. Prices rise until demand breaks, and because silver is essential for industry, demand never fully disappears. That's why this Costco event matters. It's not a fringe signal, it's a bellwether. When middle-class households start thinking about monetary protection, the conversation has moved out of academic circles and into living rooms. And once it gets there, it tends to move faster than expected. A rational response isn't panic, it's preparation. This isn't about quick trades, it's about positioning for a structural shift. If you don't already own physical silver, this should be a wake-up call, not to chase price, but to build insurance. Holding a portion of wealth outside digital systems is prudent when stress signals are flashing. Accumulating gradually, focusing on real metal you can take delivery of, being patient with timing, and paying attention to availability rather than headlines are all sensible approaches. Quiet preparation beats loud confidence every time. The silver that disappeared from Costco shelves wasn't just metal, it was a message. Ordinary people saw something, trusted their instincts, and acted early. History is often kind to those who do. If you found this analysis valuable and want to stay ahead of these shifts, make sure you subscribe to the channel. This is Bao, John Money Discipline. And if you want clear, disciplined insights on markets, money, and protection in uncertain times, hit subscribe and stay with us.